WFYI podcast brought to you by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering food and drink, college sports, outdoor activities, live music, cool art, and good times daily. Everyone is welcome in Bloomington. More information at visitbloomington.com.
I'm Kyle Long, host of Cultural Manifesto, just one of the local music programs you can enjoy on WFYI. These programs would not be possible without your financial support. And to say thank you, we want to send you to see Lyle Lovett when he comes to Indianapolis on July 28th. Choose a concert ticket as your gift when you donate at wfyi.org/give. And thanks for supporting WFYI.
This is WFYI News Now. It's May 17th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, educators, youth workers, and community leaders gather to talk about chronic absenteeism in Indianapolis schools, the legal gray area around the state sharing terminated pregnancy reports, and a few takeaways from the new State of Aging report, which looked at adults aged 55 and older in central Indiana.
Black older women are over 20% more likely than white older women to live alone, and almost 90% more likely to live alone than Hispanic older women.
Those stories coming up. But first, the southwest side of Indianapolis will welcome an $11 million affordable housing complex next spring. As Side Effects Public Media's Elizabeth Gabriel reports, it will support people recovering from substance use disorder with a focus on families.
The new Marvetta and Anthony Grimes Apartments and Family Center is in partnership with Seeds of Hope and Volunteers of America. It will be 2 buildings with a total of 36 2- and 3-bedroom units. Dana Cahill is now sober, but she struggled with substance use issues off and on for 15 years. She says women struggle to find housing after completing treatment due to strict renting requirements. But Cahill says Volunteers of America's program helped her get back on her feet.
I don't know what I would have done if I wouldn't have had that opportunity.
The new facility will also provide wraparound services such as a preschool, employment, and a free primary care health clinic. The complex is expected to be completed mid-next year. Elizabeth Gabriel, Side Effects Public Media.
The number of students who are chronically absent from school surged during the pandemic and remains high. Hundreds of educators, youth workers, and community leaders gathered in Indianapolis this week to talk about how to tackle that challenge. From our education desk, Dylan Pierce-McCoy reports their focus is on supporting families.
Schools should take the lead on improving student attendance, and courts should be a last resort. That was the consensus among many speakers at a school attendance conference in Indianapolis. Flora Jones is with the Indiana Department of Education.
For years, we thought punishment was the way for our students to come to school. But we found out that was not the way.
Researchers, educators, and people from the justice system spoke about the importance of supporting families by providing resources. Indiana lawmakers also participated. This summer, the state legislature plans to study the high number of students missing school. I'm Dylan Pierce-McCoy.
The Indiana Department of Health stopped sharing individual terminated pregnancy reports last December due to patient privacy concerns. But the Attorney General and an anti-abortion group says this violates the state's public records reporting law. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Abigail Ruman reports. One legal expert says reporting requirements and privacy concerns create complicated, gray areas for state officials to navigate.
IDOH raised concerns that releasing the full individual reports could violate patient confidentiality, especially with fewer patients receiving abortions and increased reporting requirements. Jamie Saeed is a visiting assistant professor at the McKinney School of Law at IUPUI. She says the state has a responsibility to protect patient privacy and fulfill public records reporting requirements, but balancing both of those responsibilities can be complicated.
One doesn't know what to expect until it happens sometimes. So agencies do have to have that flexibility to shift.
Saeed says the concern around patient privacy can also be a public health issue. The patient and provider relationship is an important part of adequate care, and Saeed says fears around personal information being released can affect that relationship and compromise care. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Abigail Ruman.
And for our final story today, older women face a much greater financial burden than their male counterparts as they age. That's one of the key takeaways from the Polis Center's State of Aging report, unveiled Thursday. The study looked at adults aged 55 and older in central Indiana, the region's fastest-growing demographic. Equity research analyst Kayla Duncan says social isolation is a threat to older people, and older women are 70% more likely to live alone than men.
Black older women are over 20% more likely than white older women to live alone, and almost 90% more likely to live alone than Hispanic older women.
The report shows the median income for older men is nearly double that of women, about $41,000 to $22,000. Associate Director Karen Comer says that's become acutely problematic when looking at things like assisted living or home health care.
The average annual cost of care for older adults exceeds the median personal income of older adults for both men and women. This means that there are many older adults who cannot afford long-term care.
The report is aimed at educating people and helping guide policymakers' decisions. Well, that's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by the following people who live in your community: Drew Dodlin, Kendall Antron, who composed the music for this podcast, and me, Abriana Herron. Our news director is Sarah Neal Estes. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Monday.
WFYI podcast brought to you by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering food and drink, college sports, outdoor activities, live music, cool art, and good times daily. Everyone is welcome in Bloomington. More information at visitbloomington.com.